Ahoy! My name is Ashton Kimbler, and I am a program assistant at Ohio State Center for Slavic and Eastern European Studies. Today, I will be talking to you all about the Czech Republic. In this presentation, I will mostly be using the name Czechia. The name Czechia was registered in 2016 as a shortened form of the Czech Republic. The name has been met with mixed emotions, but has been integrated into global society. Czechia should be used the same way we use US or America in place of the United States of America. Now that that's settled, let me give you a little bit of my own background with Czech. I first visited Czechia in 2013 while studying abroad in Eastern Germany. While I was in Prague, I found myself falling in love with the city, the country, and the language. Once I returned to the US, I added a Slavic and Eastern European Studies minor and focused on history and Czech language. I was majoring in German language and history, and my Czech studies revealed how much overlap there is between Germany and Czechia. I was and still am super interested in learning more about how the two countries have influenced each other throughout history. I'm really excited to talk to y'all about this awesome country today. Let's start with some basic facts. Czechia is a landlocked country in the center of Europe, and it is roughly the size of South Carolina. The country is made up of three historic regions, Bohemia, Moravia, and Czech Silesia, which are then broken up into 13 regions, kind of like our states. Czechia has a population of about 10.6 million people, 13% of whom live in the capital city of Prague, located in the western part of the country. Prague is regarded as one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It suffered very little damage during World War II, so it is one of the few major cities in Europe with original buildings. This is extremely valuable because many cities were flattened during the war, demolishing buildings in dozens of styles that had stood for hundreds of years. Czechia is a member of the European Union, but not the Eurozone, meaning they use their own currency called the koruna. Here I have a little over 100 korony, which is about $4 US. The official language is Czech, which is spoken by about 96% of the population. Other common languages spoken are Slovak, German, Polish, and Romani. Czech is a West Slavic language closely related to Slovak and Polish. It is widely regarded as one of the most difficult languages to learn, but luckily if you manage to master it, you will find yourself able to communicate in Slovak and mostly understand many other Slavic languages like Polish, Russian, and Bulgarian. So let's learn some Czech. Here are a few words and phrases you can show off to your family and friends. A fun and informal way to say hello or goodbye is ahoy. Yep, like a pirate. Ahoy! There are two ways to say how are you. Jak se máš is informal, and jak se máte is formal. You can use the informal with friends, family, peers, and people younger than you, but use the formal with strangers and authority figures like teachers and doctors. Another way to say hello is dobrý den, which translates as good day, and the word for thank you is děkuji. Let's go through the phrases a couple more times. Feel free to repeat after me. Ahoj. Jak se máš? Jak se máte? Dobrý den. Děkuji. Ahoj. Jak se máš? Jak se máte? Dobrý den. Děkuji. Awesome. You can now say you know a little bit of one of the world's hardest languages. And since you have these words mastered, this next slide should be a piece of cake. Yes, this is a real sentence with real words. It's a popular Czech tongue twister. Give it a try. Can you get it? It's pronounced Let me say that one more time. It means A mole farted through grass, having swallowed a handful of grain. Czech is full of words without vowels. That's one of the many unique aspects of the language that makes it difficult to master, but also really cool. Now let's take a quick look at some of Czechia's history. The modern state of the Czech Republic as we know it today did not exist until 1993. Before that, it was part of Czechoslovakia, a combined state of Czechia and Slovakia that was smushed together in 1918 after World War I. Czechoslovakia was occupied by the Germans during World War II. It became communist under Soviet influence after the war. When the Berlin Wall came down in 1989 and the Soviet Union began to crumble, Czechoslovakia began the Velvet Revolution, a smooth and friendly transition back to two separate countries, our modern-day Czechia and Slovakia. Now, I won't get into the complicated history before World War I, but I would love to share my favorite part of Czech history, the Defenestrations of Prague. Defenestration is a long, complicated word that means throwing someone out a window. Czechs have been using defenestration as means to get rid of their political enemies for centuries. There have been three major defenestrations in Prague. One in 1419, one in 1483, and one in 1618. The defenestration of 1618 is actually credited as being one of the primary causes of the 30 Years' War, which was one of the longest, bloodiest wars in human history. The 30 Years' War was a brutal conflict between Catholics and Protestants. The Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand II decided he wanted everyone in the empire to practice Roman Catholicism despite religious freedom being granted in 1555. Ferdinand II sent a couple representatives to Prague Castle to alert the Bohemian nobility of the emperor's decree. The representatives were thrown out the window by the Protestant Bohemian nobility. It is said that the representatives survived the defenestration because God protected them from the fall. It is also said that they survived because they landed in a massive pile of animal poo that was stacked up beside the castle. It depends on who you ask. Since 1618, there have been reports here and there of other defenestrations happening elsewhere in Czechia. There is even a rumored defenestration that took place shortly after World War II. So what is Czechia like today? Czechia is home to over 1,000 castles, making the country one of the most castle-dense in the entire world. With all the castles, it isn't surprising that Czechia has a deep, rich history of fairy tales and folklore. Many of the fairy tales passed down by Czechs deal with fantastical creatures in nature, such as fairies and spirits. Some fairy tale movies have been filmed in Czechia, and there is even a gingerbread house in the town Pardubice, reminiscent of Hansel and Gretel. One of the biggest ways Czechs convey their fairy tales and folklore is through puppetry. Puppetry came to the Czechs in the Middle Ages from German-speaking groups to the West. Over the centuries, Czechs have adapted and honed their craft to create one of the most extensive education and performance networks of puppeteers in the world. Traditional Czech cuisine is a lot of soup, pork, bread dumplings, and pickled vegetables, much like German, Polish, and other Central and Eastern European cuisines. But there is plenty of influence from other countries like Italy and from Czechia's large Vietnamese population. I will say some of the best food I have ever eaten in my life was in Czechia. I still have dreams about a pizza I ate in Prague once. Czechs, of course, love soccer, as most countries do, but ice hockey and tennis are massively popular as well. Baseball has started to gain popularity in recent years as Czechia sent a team to the Little League World Series in 2013 and 2014. Some things that were invented in Czechia include soft contact lenses like what we use today, the dollar. Yes, the dollar has a complicated and fascinating history, but the word dollar and the idea of a unified currency can be traced all the way back to Czechia. Blood types, sugar cubes, and the word robot were also invented by Czechs. Some notable Czech figures include Miloš Forman, a famous director known for the films Amadeus and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Václav Havel, an extremely revered writer and political dissident who went on to become the first president of the Czech Republic. Prague's international airport is even named after him. And my personal favorite Czech, Franz Kafka, a German-speaking Czech writer known for his unique surreal writing style. He died of tuberculosis in 1924 at just 40 years old. He published very little of his writing and demanded that his work be destroyed after he died. His friend Max Brod did not follow his wishes and published his writing anyway. It can be difficult to get into his writing with how bizarre it is, but the more you read, the more you discover the universe Kafka built for his stories and characters, which is why I love his work so much. My personal favorites are Before the Law and The Trial, but if you're interested in getting into his stuff, his book The Metamorphosis is a great place to start. Historically, polka has been the long-standing music tradition of Czechia. It's still popular amongst Czechs as it connects them to their Slavic roots. American bluegrass made an appearance in the 1950s and 60s. It still remains popular today. I remember seeing posters for bluegrass concerts while I was living in Eastern Germany and found that really funny and very unexpected. There are some Czech pop musicians, but very few have reached the levels of popularity that North American and British musicians have. There is, however, a thriving rock and heavy metal scene in Czechia that is a bit more mainstream than rock and metal here in the US. Still, not too many bands have gained popularity outside Europe. On paper, Czechia has committed to working toward many improvements in quality of life and environmental policies. Life expectancy at birth has increased as well as the water supply. More people are pursuing higher education than ever. Czechia did end up with one of the strongest economies out of the countries that were under Soviet influence after World War II. There has, however, been nationwide increases in housing costs, which are making it difficult for lower-income people to hold on to their houses and apartments, especially in Prague. There have been very few improvements in the environment reported in the last couple of years. The rapidly growing economy and Czechia's heavy reliance on coal is contributing to air pollution and diminishing bird populations. Air quality and cleaner energy sources continue to be big obstacles the Czechs must face to make progress toward accomplishing some of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about Czechia's history and culture. Nashledanou.